Hey, so glad you're here. Coach Josh from Athletic Preparation, and we have today 8 different quarterbacks running the 40-yard dash in the NFL Combine, okay? And the reason we brought this clip up is that some of the sports analysts were talking about some of these quarterbacks look fast, some of them look slow, and then I want you to comment down below which quarterback you think looks the fastest or is the fastest, all right? So just which one looks the fastest. We're just gonna run the 8 clips in random order. Guys like Tebow, Deshaun Watson, Jonny Manziel, Andrew Luck, Jay Cutler, all these different guys running the 40. We want you to comment again down below which one looks the fastest. First up, we got Jimmy Garopollo over here. We're running at a 4.97, so he was the slowest quarterback. So again, I believe Jimmy Garoppolo took the most amount of steps, 22 I counted. You can slow him down. But he just looks very like, he looks like his arms and legs, it looks like he's moving fast like we talked about earlier. But again, he was the slowest. Took the most amount of steps, so he's not applying as much force per stride. And then he was the slowest. So Jimmy Garoppolo second is Mr. Andy Dalton with the 4.93. So he looks pretty good, but you can tell he kind of looks like he's forcing that lean the whole time, and I think that's going to affect his mechanics. He's not going to get completely upright. He always has that incline, especially even when he's at the top velocity. Solid start, it looks like. Obviously, he's a good athlete, but it looks like he's just not getting his hips underneath him, right? Like, he's not getting up and tall and, like, floating above the ground, right? He's just always trying to reach forward, and that kind of affects the mechanics, reaching out in front. Like, you know, we kind of want to see his foot landing more underneath him. Well, not directly underneath, a little bit in front, but you can tell it looks like he's heel striking and everything. So anyways, Andy Dalton coming in second, running a 4.93 right behind Jimmy G. Next up is Mr. Carson Wentz. So he's a big, tall guy. It looks like his acceleration was the worst. Like, look at this compared to, you know, look how more upright he is compared to Andy Dalton that we just talked about. He's a little bit more taller. He's a little bit more front side dominant with his mechanics. And let's see what it looks like. So you see, this is what I'm talking about. When he hits the ground, he's a little bit more underneath him compared to Andy Dalton, like we just talked about. So it looks like Carson Wentz, honestly, his start looks terrible. It looks like he stumbled a little bit, right? It kind of looks like he went side to side. Like this, look at his left leg or right leg right here, land in the middle. And I feel like that kicks him over to the left. And look at, he almost steps on these lines over here with his left foot. So it looks like he did deviate a little bit left-right. We didn't get a straight on view, so we can't tell. But it looks like he had stumbled on his start. Probably would have ran faster because once he got tall and upright, it looks like he's cooking right here, like he's just covering ground, you know, about 20 to 40 yards and on. So 4.77 for Mr. Carson Wentz, and he tied with, I believe it was Mr. Jay Cutler. Yep, Jay Cutler. So running 4.77. So it doesn't look like he has the best body composition. It looks like he's carrying a little extra fat. I know he was a diabetic, but his arms look short and choppy. Obviously, he's still fast. He still hit a 4.77 back in the day. Next up was a Mr. Tebow, 4.72. Obviously, he's a good athlete. He looks like he's trying really hard. You know, probably his best is probably his start, where his strength comes in. I mean, you can just see from his build. He looks a little bit tight, a little bit stiff when he's sprinting, but again, he's a football player. He's not a track guy. Let's see what we see from the start real quick. Looks like he gets a pretty good launch. Goes to the right a little bit. And it looks very side to side with his arms. Like he's getting side to side kind of swing left and right versus more up and down, especially once you get out of the acceleration phase. It looks like he's kind of short, stops like really low, and then is getting more side to side. He could be tight. It could be his mechanics. But again, he's a football player at the end of the day, not a track guy. Next up, Mr. Jonny Manziel. He kind of probably looked like the most complete, like good natural athlete, right? So let's see him. Eyes are down, and he gets tall and upright. So again, look at, he's getting way more upright like the other guys that we talked about. He definitely had to have some coaching. Running a 4.68. Pretty good start. I mean, just a good natural sprint, just maximizing what he can for the 40. Running a 4.68, pretty solid rep. Next up is Andrew Luck hitting a 4.67. So Andrew Luck, man, he's a strong dude. He's a good athlete, and you can tell from his start. Looks like he has a nice, good start, solid start. I think he trained at Exos for his combine, I believe. Good launch, right? Covering ground. Pretty good contact right here. Pretty stiff ankle. His heel doesn't collapse. That's pretty solid. Feels like his eyes come up a little bit too quick, but again, the team sport athletes they're gonna get taller quicker compared to track guys, especially if they don't have blocks. But looks like his eyes just come up. Like right here, first step, his eyes are already coming up. I like to kind of try to see him keep his head down and just try to finish that acceleration a little bit longer. But again, he's a quarterback, solid guy, ran a 4.67. And then we'll go on to the number 1 spot. Good, a little bit. You see, real quick, going back to him, you see a little bit more up and down with his arms compared to Tim Tebow. See how his arms are coming up by his face right here? Especially on the front view. Look at it. He comes up by his face versus compared to Tim Tebow, he wouldn't even make it to his chin, and he's going left and right. Next up, Deshaun Watson. Man, he had a terrible start. Looks like he was trying to force that lean way too much, almost like he was going to nosedive. Let's watch this real quick in slow motion. So he never even unfolds his posture, right? That's the first thing he needs to fix. He never even gets like his posture projected to a post-up position. He kind of forces the lean and tries to stay low, and that probably causes him to stumble left and right, almost like what quarterback did that a little bit ago? I forget. Anyways, look at that foot contact again in the middle. Watch this left one. Looks like, again, he stumbles off to the left side a little bit and kind of reorients himself. But again, these guys are team sport athletes. They have the raw force and power to overcome bad technique in order to sprint faster, obviously. So they should be able to, technique is important. They should clean it up, and it would make them run faster. But these guys are just freak athletes, so obviously they can figure it out. And again, once he gets tall, look how nice and relaxed and smooth he looks, tall and upright, man. He looks like a track guy. So definitely had great max velocity. He gets his foot up and in front, and look, he's able to whip that front leg underneath him right here. Like especially, look at, so he's up and in front, and he's able to create that negative speed of his foot striking back and down under the ground. Look at that contact right underneath his hip compared to the other guys that we talked about. And just finishes a good 40. His start was terrible. That was the easiest low-hanging fruit. He'd probably be able to hit a 4.5, honestly. But again, he's a good athlete. He's an NFL quarterback, so those are what we see at the top 8 quarterbacks. Watching the quarterbacks in the combine and watching them sprint, we kind of noticed a couple different things. A lot of the analysts would pick the guys that look like they're sprinting fast.
Garopollo look fast too.
So guys that looks like they're like kind of rapidly moving their arms, or their legs. It looks like they're going somewhere fast, but often they're not, okay? And then also the guys that look relaxed or maybe a little bit slow, they look smooth. Those guys, a lot of times, people think that they were the slower ones, right? And it's actually kind of inverse, right? So guys like Andrew Luck, guys like Deshaun Watson, those guys ran actually the fastest 40s versus guys like Garopollo, who actually ran the slowest. Another interesting fact that we found with guys running the 40 was we couldn't count all the steps from all the different guys because of some of the angles that the videos were shot and recorded on. But the guys that we did be able to see from the side, guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, he actually took the most steps. I believe he took 22 steps to cover his 40 versus some of the faster guys were around 19 to 20. So guys like Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson, right? So they took fewer steps so they could be applying more force per stride potentially. But again, everyone has different limb lengths, right? So everyone has different heights. Some people are taller, some people are shorter, some people are more reactive, some people are stronger. So that helps out with the acceleration. So it really varies, athlete to athlete. And again, these are team sport athletes. So these are football players, not track guys.
Now, a couple key takeaways from watching these quarterbacks run the 40-yard dash at the combine. So first thing, the fastest guys typically looked the smoothest and most relaxed, all right? They weren't tensed up. They weren't overly trying. They were relaxed and let the body just do its natural thing and sprint, right? So that's the key takeaway number one. The second part is that these athletes have the raw force and power to overcome poor technique. So as you can see, a lot of these guys sprinting, especially since they're quarterbacks, they have years of training in college, right? So some of them were able to overcome, like Deshaun Watson trying to stay too low. A couple of guys stumbled out of the start, but these guys have enough force, strength, and power to overcome poor technique, all right? That doesn't mean technique isn't important. It's very important, but these guys were still able to power through and turn out a decent 40 time just because they have the raw physical skills, right? So they've been training consistently for this. And the third part is that each of them got the job done differently, meaning some of them had a stronger start, some of them had a stronger finish. That is all determined by the athlete's strength ratios, their body composition. Like if you are stronger and you have more strength, that's gonna help you have a stronger start. Again, depends on your technique as well. Or sometimes if you're a lighter quarterback, you might be better off on the max velocity phase as you're more reactive, you're a little bit lighter, you can be on and off the ground really quick. And then also, they also have their own different limb lengths. Some of them are like 6'5", like Carson Wentz, or some guys are a little bit shorter, like 6 foot. Lastly, we have Football Combine Prep, which is an online course that walks you through every single football combine drill so you can perform your best when it matters most. Things like the 40-yard dash, the vertical jump, bench press. We give you all highly detailed coaching, secrets of pros, and things that we helped athletes achieve, and go ahead and get college offers. So that is on sale. Go ahead and put the code YouTube in there. You can get an absolute 20% discount, and then